And good evening. We are live inside the State Emergency Management Headquarters as crews have been tracking the progress of Hurricane Florence now for several days. It has been a very busy day here as that storm is rapidly approaching the South Carolina coast. We're going to be talking with leaders here in just a few moments about what's being done to prepare to make sure South Carolinians are safe. But the latest numbers, the 11 o'clock numbers, are in on the storm. South Carolina's weatherman, our hurricane expert, is Jim Gandy. He is standing by with an update. Jim, good evening.
JR, thank you very much. This is a time-lapse of the radars from Morehead City and Wilmington over the last 5 hours. You can see how it's just been kind of drifting, kind of westward, so to speak. But as it passed by Cape Lookout, they've had winds up to near 100 miles per hour. At Fort Macon, they had wind gusts up to 105 miles per hour. They continue to see occasional gusts to 100, so this is still a powerful hurricane. You can see the center right here, and these thunderstorms here, that's part of the eye wall of this storm. It's continuing to drift toward the Wilmington area, and currently, here's what we have. The National Weather Service has added to the advisories. We now have tropical storm watches for Lexington, Richland, Fairfield, Kershaw, and Lancaster County. And now we have tropical storm warning for Orangeburg, Calhoun, for Lee, Sumter, and Clarendon counties off to the west. And also we've got a hurricane warning for Horry and Georgetown counties. Now, first of all, this is what we're seeing as far as the track models are concerned. Notice this is where the storm is, and by 7:30 tomorrow night, it's still just beginning to move into South Carolina, and it's going to take its time. The track models by 7:30 Saturday evening look like this. It's not until we get into Sunday that it's finally moving on out of the picture and then headed up toward the northeast. Here's the latest enhanced satellite picture. You can see it right here, the center of the storm from earlier, and you can see that this is the track that the National Hurricane Center is projecting. We do expect it to make landfall near the Wilmington area, and it kind of move along the coast, heading into South Carolina. Could be a little bit to the north, could be a little bit to the south, but generally it's going to be making its way through the Midlands. They've kind of added some things here, the watches and the warnings. Notice by 8 p.m. on Saturday, they still think that it might have maximum sustained winds at 45 miles per hour, and that's why they added some of these counties to the watch and warning area. Our computer model showing the system coming in, and it will continue to kind of make its way across South Carolina. Now, we added the computer model to it to give you an idea of the rain and when it's coming in. It'll start coming in Friday night, but most of that rain that we're going to be seeing is going to be coming Saturday into Sunday morning. As far as winds are concerned, here's what our computer model is projecting as it begins to fill in with some of the numbers. Obviously, most of the winds will start coming in a little bit later. Apparently our computer model having a little bit of problem, so there we go. We're starting to see some of the wind gusts by Friday evening. You can see they're getting up to tropical storm force, and as we go forward into time, well, we're going to have a chance of seeing some winds gusting up to about 50-55 miles per hour in the eastern part of the Midlands, and just about 45 miles per hour here in the central part of the Midlands. Rainfall may be the bigger issue. While we're going to see strong enough winds to create some power outages due to some falling trees, rainfall is going to be a problem, particularly in the northeastern part of our state with over 20 inches of rain. You get to Florence, over 15 inches of rain. You get to Bishopville, you're going to have over 10 inches of rain. For Sumter, it'll be 7 to 10 inches of rain. Here in the Columbia area, we're expecting across the Columbia area 3 to 6 inches of rain. You get down toward Orangeburg, though, it'll be about 2 to maybe 3 inches of rain. So definitely the heaviest rains are going to be right in this area. Once you get to the Savannah River, you're probably looking at less than an inch of rain. Now, some of this rain will be heavy enough to create some flash floods, and as a result, a flash flood watch is in effect for all of the Midlands. But look at this heavy rain across North Carolina, South Carolina, the northern sections, all the way to the mountains. This means that all the rivers will have a flood threat. That flood threat may persist long after the storm leaves. So next week, we'll be looking at the potential of river flooding as that water comes down the rivers from North Carolina into South Carolina. JR?
Jim, let me ask you real quick about the possibility of tornadic activity as a result of this system. Are there any areas of the state that need to be on the lookout more than others?
Probably so. There is a slight chance that there could be, let's say, an isolated tornado. And that would be north of I-20, east of I-77. So basically the northeastern part of our state. But the chance is quite low. And quite frankly, I really don't think that we're going to see much in the way of tornadoes.
More than 1 million people in the evacuation zones are moving away from the coast. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, reversed several highway lanes yesterday so all the traffic can move inland. David Begnaud is in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, which is getting ready for a possible direct hit. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gail. A mandatory evacuation goes into effect here on Wrightsville Beach at 8 a.m. And Gail, what's different about North Carolina is that if you don't follow a mandatory evacuation order here, you can be cited with a misdemeanor crime. Listen, I just got off the phone with the National Hurricane Center, and they sound subtly ominous in tone when they give this information. Right here in Wrightsville Beach, where I'm standing right now, the storm surge could be between 9 and 13 feet. That is higher than some homes. The rainfall, I'm told, could be between 20 and 40 inches. It is staggering when you think of it. On the beach where we are right now, all of these homes will be under immediate mandatory evacuation. And it is these barriers, the first to bear the brunt of Hurricane Florence. The weather is quiet. It is beautiful. For the most part, it appears as though most people are starting to leave. It's eerily empty around here, but people are being warned. If you haven't left, now is the time to get out.
It is an extremely dangerous, life-threatening, historic hurricane.
North Carolina's Governor Roy Cooper issued a grim warning yesterday as mandatory evacuations went into effect.
Will affect each and every one of you.
I haven't been through one this strong, so, safety first.
People living in Wrightsville Beach are bracing for a direct impact.
They got a long trip.
For Philip Payne, it meant packing Virginia have already run out of fuel, groceries, and generators.
Yeah, line up by your number.
In Raleigh, North Carolina, people waited for hours for store managers to restock the shelves.
Got here 6 o'clock this morning. It's 10:30 now. I'm still waiting.
Yesterday, we don't heed the evacuation and leave. The cops are not going to pull them out of their house, but they may not be able to come and help you if you need rescuing when the storm makes landfall. You're not worried about staying behind?
No.
But there are always those people like Mike White and his 8 neighbors who have stocked up on essentials and plan to ride out Florence.
Okay.
South Carolina, and Bill Walsh, that's the name of the meteorologist, told me, he said, David, our threat level has risen significantly as the storm has started to jog a little further to the south. We are more worried now than we were 24 hours ago. Please, everybody, get ready. People, the tone that media...
It's the top of the hour. I'm Anderson Cooper, Wilmington, North Carolina, along with Don Lemon, who's in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Chris Cuomo, who's in North Myrtle Beach. This is our special coverage of Hurricane Florence, and today it begins. After days of warnings and more than 1 million evacuated, the Carolina coast are now feeling the first bands, just the first inkling. What could be the worst storm to hit this area in almost 30 years. This is a huge, huge storm. Moments ago, a new set of data just released on how powerful the hurricane is, where it's headed. While its winds are slightly weaker, that's good news. The area it's predicted to pummel has now gotten bigger. It's actually doubled in size from initial forecasts. It's gotten twice as large. Here's a taste of what's headed to the coast. Listen to what winds sound like at just 55 miles an hour. They're talking about getting 8 months worth of rain over the next 3 days, and they've already had a lot of rain this year. We're covering Hurricane Florence up and down the coast and inland, as only CNN can, with crew. Good morning. Well, good morning, everyone. Now, as Hurricane Florence gets closer and closer to land, I want to focus on 2 primary impacts, and that's going to be wind and storm surge. So this storm is going to batter the coast on Friday. The peak winds of 100 miles per hour or more extend only about 20 miles from the center of the storm. That's your eye wall. And outside of this, there's a band of hurricane force winds that extends 70 miles from the eye. Here's where you're going to find winds that are, 74 miles per hour or stronger. The rest of this entire storm is primarily tropical storm force winds. And those are winds that are over 39 miles per hour, and they extend 220 to 245 miles from the center.
Now, keep in mind, you can always get a stronger gust at any point in time. But there's also another element of this storm, and it's the temperature of that water below Florence. It is a bathtub. It is 85 degrees. That will help to maintain the strength as well. And it also matters what side of the storm you are on. The worst part of the storm is the front right quadrant, and that's because you get the highest winds, the most tornadoes, and the storm pushes that water onto the shore. On the left-hand side of the storm, the water is actually pushed away from the coast. And most people, unfortunately, die from storm surge than any other part of a hurricane. And in this storm, that water could rise 15 feet. That's basically up to the second floor of a home. And that's why now is the time that those folks have got to evacuate if you are in the North Carolina